James sat in his cluttered office, the hum of fluorescent lights above creating a steady background noise. As a journalist, he thrived on uncovering hidden truths and exposing secrets. His latest assignment, however, was unlike anything he had encountered before. Reports had trickled in about a small town in the Midwest where people were vanishing without a trace. The town of Harrow, with a population of just under 1,000, was becoming a ghost town, and no one seemed to know why. Intrigued, James packed his bags and set out on a road trip, determined to unravel the mystery. The drive was long and uneventful, the landscape gradually changing from bustling cityscapes to vast, empty fields. When he finally arrived in Harrow, it was late afternoon, and the sun hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the town. Harrow looked like any other small town, with its main street lined with quaint shops and a modest town square. But as James drove through, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The streets were eerily silent, and many of the buildings appeared abandoned. He checked into the only hotel in town, a dilapidated building that had seen better days. The clerk, an elderly woman with tired eyes, handed him a key without a word. "Excuse me," James said, trying to sound casual. "I've heard that people have been disappearing from Harrow. Is that true?" The clerk's expression darkened. "You should leave while you still can," she whispered, then turned and walked away. James felt a chill run down his spine but pressed on. After settling into his room, he decided to explore the town and talk to the remaining residents. He found a small diner that was still in operation and stepped inside. The bell above the door chimed, but no one looked up. A few patrons sat at tables, their faces pale and gaunt. He approached the counter where a middle-aged waitress was cleaning mugs. "Hi, I'm James, a journalist. I'm here to find out more about the disappearances." The waitress glanced around nervously before leaning in. "You need to be careful asking questions around here," she whispered. "People have been disappearing for months. We don't know why or how, but it's not safe. Have you noticed any patterns? Anything strange happening before someone vanishes?" James asked, his curiosity piqued. She hesitated, then nodded. "It always happens at night, usually around midnight. And there's a sound, a low hum that fills the air just before someone is taken." That night, James decided to stay awake and listen for the hum. He sat by the window in his hotel room, peering out into the dark, empty streets. As the clock approached midnight, his heart raced with anticipation. Then, he heard it, a low, vibrating hum that seemed to emanate from the very ground beneath him. It grew louder, more intense, until it filled the room, making the walls tremble. James grabbed his flashlight and rushed outside, following the sound. The streets were deserted, but the hum led him to the town square. There, he saw something that made his blood run cold. In the center of the square, where the old fountain stood, a faint, glowing portal shimmered, casting an unnatural light. The hum was deafening now, and as James watched in horror, a shadowy figure stepped out from the darkness and was sucked into the portal, disappearing without a trace. James approached cautiously, his flashlight flickering in the eerie light. The portal seemed to pulse with energy, and as he got closer, he felt a strange pull, as if it was drawing him in. He reached out, his hand trembling, and touched the edge of the portal. Instantly, he was overwhelmed by a blinding light and a sensation of being pulled apart. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in a vast, empty void. The town of Harrow was gone, replaced by an endless expanse of darkness. He saw other figures here, the lost residents of Harrow, wandering aimlessly with blank expressions.